Okay. And so in this one, we're going to show you how to make laminar crystals. This is a real simple way of doing this, and it really works really well. And we're going to show you a couple of levels, like to make a quick and easy one, or how to make a more complicated one that's more potent. And we're using grout mix, and I mixed in magnetite, and I mixed in the caulk, this water-based caulk, which is Alex Plus. Get a little product identification, right? And so you mix the caulk in there, mostly caulk in with the dry grout mix that is right in that poly blend. It's a grout, heavy grout mix. And oh, careful. And so the first step to making a real potent one is to take some epoxy, and I just take the epoxy. Here's a sheet that's already done. It's already been epoxied. I just take the epoxy. Oops. I have another. I guess I'll use this little thing. Take the epoxy and I just squirt it right onto this is very coarse. It's 50 grit garnet sandpaper, and you want to use garnets because garnet is a nice crystal, has a good vibration. You don't want to use the aluminum crystals. It'll work, but for me it doesn't have the right vibe. Anyway, so I just squirted half of a epoxy thing out, and then I'm adding some magnetite, and this is wet source magnetite, which means that it comes from a stream. The white hand out of the way. Move the white hand away. Okay. And so what you do is mix up the magnetite with the epoxy, and you go and you do it little bit by little bit till you got the whole piece of sandpaper covered, just like you see here with this one. And just spread it out. I usually use a putty knife, but that putty knife is is already occupied. So you see how that goes. So when this epoxy dries, it shrinks, and it shrinks down around the crystals of the garnet and makes a very nice laminar crystal. And so what that does, what the laminar crystal does, is when the epoxy and the crystal squeeze down, it makes it vibrates, and it gives a real healthy vibration that, it's part of the pyramid principle. And so then after you've got it all coated, I'm not going to coat this one the rest of the way, because I'm just trying to show you, the steps of it, so you can do it yourself, obviously. And then after you've got it coated like this, you take the grout mix and you coat it with this cement grout mix. Okay. And that's the next layer. So this one's going to have a couple of layers. The problem is that if you're having this around a wet source, around water, you want to make sure to seal it in silicone. So, and I used I'll show you in a second here, get this one pretty well covered. Once you have it all covered like this, just and this layer will also shrink down around the magnetite that's in there and the epoxy, and so you got this. Here's your next. That's this dried out basically. Then the next step is to take your finished, so you've got cement and you've got the epoxy and you've got the sandpaper. Then you take and you want to make it waterproof, because you've got the paper back, and if you get it in water, it's going to fall apart. And it really will too. I've seen it happen. So you just take and you put this is water-based silicone seal, and you just coat it completely with water-based silicone seal. Alex Plus. Good old Alex. Then after this layer here dries, you flip it over and coat the back too. You want it fully coated, and that'll make it reasonably waterproof. And the energy of this puppy is huge, so it's a real cool deal. It's like if you can actually, it's an orgone collecting thing, so having it around food and around stuff like that's a good thing. It'll preserve stuff. It'll clear up algae. It'll do cool things, you know. Yeah, and that's how you make a very simple laminar crystal.